Hi, everybody, and welcome into Blooming Woman. Today we have a special guest, and I want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in right now. Welcome if you're new to my channel. And yes, so we want to welcome in Ramutef Queb here. He is going to go ahead and get straight into introducing himself. I'm so happy to have you here, Ramutef. I'm so happy that you were able to make it and help explain what it is that people are going to get enlightened with today, okay? So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Dua Ahmed. Panasab Pama, Uncle Jed, Uncle Josh and Neb, Ruben, Nefike, Panabu, Haru, Maati to everyone in the listening audience. I'm humbly honored to be on your platform. My name is, or I should say, Anouk Ramutef Queb. I am Ramutef Queb. I'm the global distributor of the Rasaurian Solar Sidereal Lunar Calendar, or we say as the Ibet Taru Shabit Twaharu Pamaat. I am also the royal scribe and another master keeper of Tep time, as well as the master astrologer of Tesher Ra. I come from the temple of Tesher Ra, which means Holy House of Ra. As you can see by the Hameshi showing our calendar, it's the Rosarian year 10 Rosarian Impet Peru Shabit from Taharu Pamaat, the Crumb TV edition of the 2020-2021. Um, Other than that, I appreciate everything that you've done so far, and let's begin.
Okay, so once again, for everyone tuning in, this is Ramutef Queb, and we are going to be learning about the Rasaurian calendar. Okay, this is the ancient Egyptian calendar. This is something that I really wanted to bring into light on my channel because, as I've been talking, as some of you guys know, whenever I do my readings and my intuitive readings now, I'm going to scratch off the Gregorian calendar and the Gregorian system of the zodiac. So that means your Aries, your Taurus, your Gemini, all of that's going to be dropped on my channel, and I'm going to evolve into African-based spirituality and into African-based Twa, which means star, and Det, which means time. Okay, so I'm going to go into the African zodiac sign. That's not what they call it. They don't call it zodiac. They call it your Twa sign. Okay, but I'm going to scratch all of that Gregorian, all of that Roman, all of that Europeanized things, and we're going to solely base it off of African stuff. Okay, so this is some enlightenment. So what we're going to go ahead and talk about first is we're going to explain to you the difference between the Rasaurian calendar, which is going to be your Egyptian calendar, the first calendar before any calendar reform, and then we're going to compare that with the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar you know of today. The Gregorian calendar is going to be the calendar that has seasonal, that goes off a seasonal time. That's the calendar that you're used to. That's the calendar that has July. That's the calendar that has August, October. And when you think about those names, it's also good to understand that that was based off of European things, because you think about Julius Caesar, and that's going to be July. You think about Augustus, and that's going to be August. You think about Octavius, and that's going to be October. There's even Decemberium, or somebody called that, and that's December. So all of that, even the idea of having a structured time and calendar was stolen from Africa, and they messed up time. They had to do leap years. They had to do all these things to make up for their 35 minutes that they don't include inside of the real calendar. Okay, so do you have anything to share, Ramutef Queb, when it comes to the difference between the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar that people know of today, and the Rasaurian calendar, which is the original African-based calendar before any calendar reforms?
Yes, and also before we begin, with your permission, I would like to uh, say my affirmation, my sakru, my hesi, to gravitate us in this present moment in time and space.
Absolutely.
And it goes as follows. Hetepu, Duau, Oran Nazarak, Ramech, Emotep. Greetings, divine greatness, divine excellencies to the first families, Managa, Shemsarus, Neshabitis, Hamets, Sibas, Mutatas, the mortal ones of my art chairs, phenomenon, procession, new age, order, great going age, and my PSR, and to all the descendants, to all of this, the citizens and descendants of the Nile Valley Cultural Collective Consciousness Spirituality. And Nazarak, or As Urmu, Wat Nataru, Panebu, the mother of the Netarus, the mistress of Pet, the maker of mankind, she who is mighty in Usa, Meta Nefer Hekau, divine words of power, mother of all initiations, bless us humble sufferers for Unk, life being now present, as we seek the counsel of the ancient ones and practice daily the ancient Montean ways and ancient Montean truths. We strive ever more to become one with thee in this world and existence to come. We ask that you bless us on this, the 186th day of the 84th day of the year after the Hinoka rising, 176 days remaining to Ubisat, the Supta Cyrus rising, Upawat, Samatawi, Rekwin, Pet Dejaher, New Year's celebration. The 4th day of the 6th month of Heru, the 1st day of As, the 14th day of the 3rd month of the 2nd season of Aket, year number 10, AFNK, SST, after the founding of New Kemetic, Naga Kemet, Samatawi, phenomenon, procession, New Age, order, great going age, and my PSR. We ask that you bless our families and friends and all those who gather together for worship in your glorious ancient Timerian name of As Ermu Nataru Panebu. For the art of seeking you, there is much comfort. So let it be spoken, let it be written, let it be done, so shall it be for now and for before. Ra Nebateshara, Panata, Pamaat, Onk, was the Jet, Onk, Udasanev, Uben, Nefike, Panebu, Haru, Ma'ati, rising always in divine excellence with my all day, every day. Do all. So now to answer a couple of your questions, one thing that people need to realize is that the calendar that you use blindly, the Gregorian calendar, most people know it has a name. They just know it as a calendar or as time. The calendar that you use is something that was stolen, not necessarily stolen, but basically information stolen, regurgitated back to us in an unholy matter. That calendar that you use is what they call a lunar cycle calendar. Most folks don't know that the calendar that you use is a lunar cycle calendar. What does that mean? Lunar cycle is aka lunar, meaning that your calendar is based off the moon. Any lunar cycle calendar is what you would call an agricultural calendar. An agricultural calendar is used for um, measuring the high tides, low tides, birthing gestation, menstrual cycles, and learning how to basically plant. In his words, basically saying agricultural. When you think about it, the calendar that they use for us is the same type of method they use on people. So they maliciously use a system for economics, which is basically what they call a decree in equity. That decree of equity states that any person that follows that calendar is, how you say, subjugated to their system. And what I mean by that is that I always ask people, and in the listening audience as well, just think about it. Out of all the 12 months that you use on the calendar that you use today, what month doesn't have a holiday? And then we'll just let people answer that as we go. When it comes to dealing with the calendar, you got to understand what is called calendar reform. Calendar reform is basically what they did to implement what they had. So a lot of people don't know that originally we had 9 days in a week, 4 weeks in a month, 36 days in a month, 10 months in a year. To explain that, most people who know of the Kemetic calendar, they know it as 10 days a week, 10 days in a week, 3 weeks in a month, 30 days in every month. And that's basically how you would do the so-called seasonal calendar, which that's what it is. But again, it's a lunar cycle calendar. Any lunar cycle calendar that you know of has either 7, 8, or 10 days. Any calendar like that, they don't realize that every 130 years, one unearned day is added to the calendar. As you see, as the Hemet, which means queen in Medu Neter, She's holding up the Ibed Haru Shabit Taru Pamaat under the month that we're under, which is Haru. Just to give you a side note as well, we have going to change the months on our next calendar, and you'll see as you look into it. If you want more information on that, you can find me on Facebook as Ramutef Queb. You can find me on Instagram as Ramutef_Queb, or you can find me under our website, which is thenagaship.org.
Yes, thank you so much, Ramutef Queb, for explaining all of that. And anyone who is interested in getting their Rosarian calendar, I just got mine inside the mail on Wednesday, and it really helped me understand time and how time is really going. And, you know, like he said, not under a system that was created, which I'll get to in a second. But anyone who is interested in purchasing this calendar, the link is inside the description box below, and you guys can purchase that on Amazon. Okay. Now, even though it says 2020 to 2021, it's not up, it extends up until the August 24th of 2021, because that's how you can calculate when the new year starts for the Kemetic calendar. So it's not like it's out of date either. So just because it say 2020 to 2021 does not mean it's out of date. So go ahead and look inside the description box so you can order your own Rosarian calendar. So in this live, for those of you who are tuning in right now, we will be going through all the different days of the week. Some of you know that there is 7 days of the week, and what we're trying to enlighten you and explain to you is that calendar is not the real calendar. That is something that was stolen from you, okay? Like I said, you got August, Augustus, July, Julius, October, Octavius, December, this other guy's name. This is all European things that is not in alignment with time. This is why they have to do a leap year every 4 years. You guys think that there's 24 hours in a day, but the stars and astronomy, like the real facts, say that there's 24 hours and 35 minutes inside of a day. That's how much time is really inside of a day. That's why they have to do those leap years so they can make up for it. And they're still not able to catch up to it. So like Ramutef Queb said, it's a lunar cycle calendar is what they have you under right now. The Gregorian calendar is a lunar cycle calendar, and it's basically based off of agricultural. It's seasonal. So it changes per season because it takes the moon about 19 to like 21 days, I think, to go into from full moon to new moon. So they use that as a way to structure some type of system within you. So that way, back in the day, they could be able to grow their crops. They could be able to do farming. They could be able to basically grow wealth. Okay. So that is the reason why that's into play. So go inside of the description box below, get your calendar, follow nagaship.org. You'll be able to get some classes on nagaship.org. There's also classes where you can learn all about Kemetic time and all of the different things that you may want to know about ancient Egyptian Rosarian calendar, right? On
Correct.
nagaship.org.
Just to give me 1 second. I love my family. All right, so just to be clear, when it comes to dealing with the ancient Rasaurian solar system lunar calendar, it is a Kemetic calendar, but it's not a Kemetic calendar. I just want to just let people know that it does have the Kemetic calendar in there, but is what we would call a Naga calendar.
Mm-hmm. Naga meaning?
Basically, the immortal ones. Because
Okay.
what it is about this calendar is the main question that people should know or would like to ask to know is how did they steal our time? And the way that you find out is that we have to go back in his story to find our story. So what we will tell you is that first you need to look up calendar reform. And you're gonna see a name called Eratosthenes and Aristarchus. But in order to find out, you have to look up a time frame that a lot of people don't know about, which is called the 754 AD you see A means Ab, Urbe, Gordita. Ab is AB, Urbe, URB, was it URBE, Gordita, Coridita, which means on the founding vicinity of Rome. There you'll see those two characters that I've spoken of earlier, who was Eratosthenes and Aristarchus. These individuals first implemented the calendar because at the time it was only 10 months on the calendar. And then they had to buy certain days, and those days didn't match up. And the reason why they kept reforming the calendar is because they kept, how you say, butchering and attacking and enslaving our people. And that's just over there at that present moment. But then you have the people that was over here as well. To go even further, then you start to go into find out about Alexander the Greek and what he did when he conquered Kemet or Egypt, and he implemented his rule. Then from there, when he died in India, and we all should know his story in a sense, he had 18 generals. Those 18 generals drew lots, and then the one that picked Egypt is the person that you know as Ptolemy the First, Sotir, Serapi, Sitira, Mary Ahmed. When he came to Kemet, he basically wanted to learn, as all people wanted to learn, how do I become a god? When the people rejected him, he basically just started killing and mass murdering because that's what they do. Then it came to a pass that our people were just like, yo, we don't want to die today. We'll just do it to, we'll just give it to you. So then he ended up becoming that deity called Serapis or Serapis. And then if you look
Mhm.
into a lot of books, and I'll say one book that I'm very fond of is by the great elder by the name of Walter Williams. In his book, the the I think it's the historical origins of Christianity, if I'm not mistaken. And in that book, you'll find out about the deity name or the person or the Hellenizer name, Serapis. And then he had a lineage out there in Kemet, and that lineage basically was, a Ptolemy era or Ptolemaic era is what they call it when you Google it. And then you know about him, and his sons, the calendar reforms. The ones that did it was his thus Ptolemy the third and also Ptolemy the fifth. Then you get to
And
the
let me
part
ask
of
you a question.
the
With Ptolemy, is he part of is that dynasty or that family lineage also part of Cleopatra
correct because they're
family?
how you say they're all kin to each other.
Exactly.
They're all
Okay.
kin to each other. So then we get to the part of Cleopatra, and then you step in with Augustus. When Augustus came, not Augustus, I'm sorry, Julius Caesar. When Julius Caesar came in, he found out the same thing that everybody else knows. How do I become a god? All right, go to Kemet. So when he started conquering as well, because we know how the Romans do, they came and conquered. And when Cleopatra had a vizier, her vizier was named Sisagines. When Julius Caesar came up there, he had that famous saying that everybody know, "Vidi vidi veci" or "You vide, you vedi, you veci," which means I came, I saw, I conquered. From there,
Hmm.
he had his way with Sisagines, and he changed the calendar to what he thought it would be, which was basically the whole leap year system that we have today. The only difference is that we went from 9 days to 8. We went from 10 months to 11. When Julius got assassinated in the Senate, um, there was basically war and things of that nature. And then you had Tiberius, and then you had Augustus Caesar. When Augustus Caesar came in, he did his just like his grandfather, and did the same thing. Roll up on Sosthenes and Cleopatra, and had his way with him. And then he got put on the map. And then we went
Mm.
from 8 days to 7. We went from 11 months to 12. And then, as Hamet stated earlier, now you understand the significance of July and August. That's how they got implemented into the calendar. Then years go by. Then you have the um, the Nicaea Council, right? Then you get to there, and you understand that they started with the whole, Jesus the Father, the Son, or the Holy Spirit, if he even existed, and then that's how you get the whole Christianity thing even more popping. As I was saying earlier, if you haven't read the book by the elder Walter Williams, he has a lot of that in there, and then a lot of other brothers and sisters out there as well. But Me personally, I prefer his research because I definitely enjoyed the read. Um, as you go further, then you get to Pope Gregory. When you get to Pope Gregory, you find out that the spring equinox wasn't lining up. So what they did, so they can always remember after all that gorging and pillaging that they did to our people and enslavement and things of that nature around, then how they say that when they start spreading around the world with it, they understand that, under this sign, how you say, under this sign we shall conquer. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
as they started conquering, we get to a point where nobody knew what time was. So Pope Gregory, as what they do, the Pope and Senate and the Romans, they figure out how do they get things back on track. Because again, the calendar that we use today is for agricultural purposes.
Right.
So at that time, they were like, "Oh snap, we're kind of misleaded on time." So we go back, steal somebody else's information, which is Julius' information, but now you already have the 7 days in the week. From there, they implemented the Gregorian calendar. I want to say it's I can't think of the date right now because I'm going too fast. But
That's
when it
fine.
comes to he when he implemented, he waived all debt for basically 2 weeks because during that time they were trying to figure it out because they pushed the New Year's to March 21st. But you know it as January 1st, correct?
Right.
But they tell you that it's on March 21st. But that that particular date though is a date that shows what is called the phenomenon of precession or the precession of equinox or what you would call the spring equinox. On the
Equinox,
spring
yeah.
equinox is the only time you will know how to track the ages or the precession. There's other methods too, but that is the most um, how you say stand outish because it's very important on that day because as you see it's a New Year's in a sense. So a lot of people
Right.
don't realize. Give me 1 second. So a lot of people don't realize that when dealing with that particular calendar, um, it's there to keep you subjugated. And then there's always an old saying that my C used to say is that why is it that they, the opposing forces, can bring down to their descendants and their descendants to keep us in a subjugation, but we cannot give our children and our descendants a way to liberate themselves. And
Mm.
the way that you do it is through understanding time. So now we're going to go ahead and go into the three. I'll try to step into the fourth dimension in time, but that's going to take a long time. But I'll try to step into it. So there's four dimensions of times, and there's three motions of time, and there's four dimensions of time. The four dimensions of times are daily cycle, yearly cycle, great year cycle. When it comes to the dimensions, it's daily time, yearly time, and great year time. And then there's the fourth dimension that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's called the Zep Tepi. Zep means first, Tep means time. So it's mainly saying first time. And that's during the time when there was no time. And that's dealing with the origins and creations and developments of the universe. And then we'll kind of step into that, but let's first get the first, how you say, the first movement of time. So everybody knows that there's 24 hours, or how they say the Earth rotates on its axis, either 24 hours or 25 hours and 35 minutes. Most people know just 24 hours. A lot of people don't know about the 35 extra minutes in the day. The second motion is that the Earth revolves around the sun. And that comes out to 360, or under the Gregorian calendar, 365 and a quarter days, and that's every 4 years you get the leap year. And then you have the great year time, which is the phenomenon of precession, which it takes
Hmm.
26,000 years for one complete cycle, which will make one great year. Some people will think of the precession as, you know, just the 2,160 years, and that's, you know, each age. But when you're talking about a year, you're going through 26,000 within that year. And then
Mm.
someone rounded off to 225,920, and then so many other years added on. But when you understand about the Gregorian calendar, you will find out why we are missing those extra 80 years. And then as you go through time, through his story, you're going to find out that when you look up 754 AUC, that's when they implemented in the whole Romans, because the Romans were Romans before the Romans. When you look at it, a lot of people don't know that. Then you'll see that they implemented their AD with 754 AUC. So why did they have Ani Domini before Ani Domini? 754 years before it. You know what I mean? And then there's a lot of misconstructions that you can see within our own Gregorian calendar. Like basically, if we're doing the whole slave time, then you start to find out that there's missing days even within that calendar, and so on and
So,
so
so
forth.
basically, also, I think it's important for people to understand how many calendar reforms have been done till this date.
It's
And
probably
I
like a
believe
million.
it's three. Huh?
There's a from my perspective, it's like a million. But um,
Really?
from the ones that we just discussed, we started with the first one, which is 754 AUC. Then we get to Alexander the Greek, and he was um, I can't think of the time frame during his time. Then you have Ptolemy's time. Then you have his two sons that did it. Then you have Julius, and then his grandson, and then you have the Council of Nicaea. And there's other ones within that one, but at that present time, you'll end up counting to nine with uh um. I gotta slow down for a minute. Hold on. With
Take your time.
with Pope Gregory, and then you got the ninth one with Pope Gregory. So that's nine so far. So if you take the math of it, each one of them has started time over, meaning that it's one AD nine times.
Mm,
So everybody on this planet is lost in space. We're all space cadets. And then on top of that, we're
right.
on a lunar cycle calendar, so we're all freaking lunatics at that.
Lunar cycle calendar makes you a lunatic.
Basically.
That
Basically.
makes sense. Yeah. Well, thank you for explaining all of that. It's very important. I hope everybody can understand and catch up with everything. If I can slow it down here and there for them to understand more, I'll do that. Basically, there's been a lot of calendar reforms ever since this calendar, which is the most important calendar that you need to know. Basically, another thing about the Rosarian calendar and the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar you know about today, is the Rosarian calendar it's fixed. Okay, so that means that it doesn't move. And the Gregorian calendar is a perpetual calendar. So that basically means like your birthday this year, let's say your birthday is on a Wednesday this year. Next year, your birthday is going to be on a Thursday. The year after that, your birthday going to be on a Friday. After that, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And that shows right there that their definition of timing and their calendar is completely whack and off, because with the Rosarian calendar, which is the original, the oldest calendar to date that goes off of the actual astronomy and what's really moving in the sky and the actual time it takes for each for us to actually for the sun to actually go through each star alignment. It Let me explain it this way. Like he said, it's a lunar calendar. So lunar means moon, right? So you going off of 30 days before you get to a new month. This is why everyone who thinks their zodiac sign is a certain sign is actually not. Because what the Gregorian calendar does is it says that it takes 30 days for the sun to go through each star alignment, which would be your sign, like Aries, Gemini, whatever you know as today. Whereas the Rosarian calendar and Kemetic astrology, if you want to call it that, what they do is they actually take how long it really takes for the sun to go through each star alignment. Each star alignment is not all the same size. One of the biggest star alignment is going to be Virgo. Okay, and that has its own name. Virgo is not the original name, but that can be alive on another day. Okay, but as of right now, just understand that everything's whack. And what we're going to get into right now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to explain the 9 days of the week. We're going to give you guys the names of the days of the week. And once again, if you want your own Rosarian calendar, look inside the description box below, and there's a link for it there. And you'll be able to see all these 9 days of a week and 39 days of a week, 36 days in each month, except for that extra month where there's 5 days. And that's why they do the leap year too, to make up for those 5 days, and also to make up for the 35 minutes that they're missing inside of our days, because it's 24 hours and 35 minutes in a day. It's not just 24 hours. Okay. So that's why they do that leap year. And the leap year isn't enough to make up for all the time. So the time today is really messed up, and it's actually showing in other things where things aren't aligning up. Okay. Even for astrologers, no matter what type of astrology you study, whether it's Vedic, tropical, sidereal, whatever, they see that mess up too. And then one last thing, I'm gonna also explain what Ramutef Queb is trying to say also with the 3 rotations that make this calendar different. Is this calendar doesn't just go off of a lunar cycle. So if you read on the calendar, it says lunar, sidereal, and solar. So it goes off of the moon cycle, but it also includes all the other cycles that occur on our axis point, which is going to be Earth. So it goes off of the lunar cycle, which is the moon. It also goes off of the solar cycle, which is us going around the sun, right? Because the galaxy is heliocentric. So we're going around the sun. So it goes off of the moon, it goes off of us going around the sun, and then you also have the sidereal, and that's what he's trying to explain. Earth is tilted off of its axis 23 degrees and 23 and a half degrees. Thank you for correcting me. And it makes its own little rotation on that 23 and a half degrees. And that little rotation that it makes takes a whole 26,000 years. That is when you see people coming into the new age. So when it makes that big rotation, we step into a new age of Aquarius, age of Pisces, age of this. Okay. So how can you create a calendar that structures time without including all of our rotations from this access point?
And some of them say that they do. So this is something that that I want to point out to a lot of folks before we go any further. So I noticed that as I've continued to do my research, the reason why that everything is knocked off is because when it comes to those 3 main principles of our Earth, our Sun, and our Moon, and then those who understand what sidereal means is basically means star, right? So if you're going by the moon, you're not really going by any stars. You can say it's a star that's in, which is correct. However, you're just basing it off the cycles of the moon, going within each and every sign. But then it takes 30 days for each one. But in all actuality, the moons in each sign either 2, depending on how long it is, 2 to 3 days. You know what I mean? For every sign of the zodiac that it goes through, and it keeps going through it. Then it has this what is called the apogee and the perigee, where it's the farthest and the closest. You know, from there, people got to really understand is that when it's dealing with sidereal, with this particular one, is that we learned that there's a star that our ancestors follow. That star was called Subdit, which is SPDT in Medu Nature, or how you say, when I turn my camera off, that's my, never mind, that's it. That's my calendar. I thought I had the symbol for Medu Nature for the for Subdit, but I'll show you on the calendar. So the Medu Nature word for Subdit is right here. You see the star, you have the pillar, and the T sign for Medu Nature. When using the Ipeteru Shabitam Paru Pama'at, we go by the star called Cyrus, or which you know as Cyrus A, Cyrus B, so on and so forth. There are people that call it the dog star, and then you understand about what is the dog days and things of that nature. But to our African indigenous ancestors, there's a big importance with this star. This star represents what we call your immortality. It reveals your immortality. The calendar itself is your immortality. And a lot of people don't understand the word of immortality. They think it's living forever in the physical. No, you got to understand that we are all energy beings, correct? So with us encapsulated in matter, in a sense, and that's what when you do start thinking about the in astrology and things of that nature, then you understand that your body itself is a sign, as well as you have your sun, your moon, and your planetary signs, and you understand that back then, and our ancestors only used from the sun all the way to Saturn. They did not use Neptune and Uranus and Pluto. But with us being updated and understanding more about our cosmos, a lot of the astrologers do use that, which is okay, and it does give its power. However, if you're going to where our ancestors did, that's the way you would do it, from the sun to Saturn. Also, where I wanted to go with, there was a you said something and it I was waiting to say, I was waiting to jump in. Go ahead and repeat it real quick so I can get back with you.
What was it? You said I said something and
Yeah,
that
jog me.
reminded you?
Yeah, remind me of something. But I'll go ahead and explain the calendar so we can go, start talking about the days of the week. So on
Okay.
the back of our calendar, this is what is called a legend. There are depictions, if you want to understand about this 24 hours and 35 minutes. That's what it was. So to understand the 24 hours and 35 minutes, you will have to understand the Zep. So I'm just going to do like a quick drive by going to the Zep. Um, Basically, you have the creator who we know as Ra Nebuchadnezzar. In the Meta Nature, no matter what text you read, you'll find the name Nebuchadnezzar. From there, Nebuchadnezzar came into being, spoke his name as a word, him and her name as a word of power, because you understand that the creator is both masculine and feminine in nature, which we are as well. When it comes to how the creator came into being, it spoke his name as a word of power, which first, before it did that, it had to be what is called Tamu. Boom. It had to be Tamu. I don't know if you can see it though, but Tamu will be right there in Meta Matcha. Yeah, I don't know if I can show y'all. But first it became Timu. Timu means thought. Timu means mentalism. And Timu means to plan. And then we equate it to how we do, which is learning the divine math, the divine science, and your cultural collective consciousness, spirituality. You understand that it equates to electromagnetism. From there, the creator spoke his name as a word of power. So one thing that teach you in Meta Nature is the word name. In Meta Nature, you'll see the mouth and the water sign. The mouth means R, the water sign means N. So Ren means name. If you flip it up, you'll see the water sign and then the mouth, which means nerve. Nerve means energy. So when the creator spoke his and her name as a word of power, it opened up the door. The door is what we call where you at? In the purple. I don't know if I can see it, but Ptah. Ptah means the door, opener of the way, opener of the door, or his name means door. Excuse me, my I just just open up
You're
my
good.
yeah, just open up my stove for no reason. But you have Ptah, who's the door. When the creator came out, what's called the noon, and then like I'll get to it another day. But when the creator came into the noon, it found no place where he and she could stand. So then you're experiencing what is called gravity. Gravity is what we call Amen. Amen means he who is hidden. He who is hidden. From there you go from there you go from Amen, and then Amen. The creator ended up going to he who is hidden, and then from there it went to Kepra. Kepra means he or she who evolves. From Kepler, you understand that that is the atomic energy or the hydrogen atom. From there, you go from the hydrogen atom to starting creation. From creation, you have what is called Shu and Tepnu. Shu and Tepnu are the twins that were born in the same birth. Shu meaning gas in science or air, and you have Tepnu, which is moisture or liquid. When those two combine, you get a solid because matter is solid, liquids, and gases, correct? From there, the solid that made Seb, which is the earth that we are on, presently on, had a nickname Newt. And then this is where the 35 minutes come from. So now, during that time, life was being born from the micro to the macro. You have the six forms of life. The reason why we had the six forms of life for the 24 hours and 35 minutes is that that was the original time of mankind. However, we wasn't here yet. Those six forms of life were here. So the story goes is that Seb and Newt wanted to have children. Seb is the earth, Newt is the sky that you see. That's the cosmic. If you ever seen a picture of it, but if you want to see primordial evidence, you're going to see that during that time you'll see someone holding Newt up in the metal nature, and that person could be Shu, it could be Kemu, it can be any type of nature. But during that time, yeah, that's thank you. So during that time, there was nothing can be born because time was allotted for. So they petitioned to the moon god or the moon nature, um, Tahuti, which is I am thought. That's perfect time, my brother. I appreciate it. Dua, dua, dua. And when they petitioned, they asked, can they reason with Ra, the sun, to see if they can have more children. So Ra was unrelenting, and he was just like, yo, I already have time set up. There's no room for no more. So there was a wager between the moon and the sun, and the wager is only known to the great companies of gods and goddesses, which is the Platnetarus. So when it comes to being, Tahuti became the winner because he found a way to get us here. So he understood that within the cycles of the sun, there was an extra 35 minutes in every day. So he equated that extra 35 minutes that equated to 5 1/4 days, henceforth the 5 extra days. But these 5 extra days are within the last 5 days of the year, which is um, the um, the last was 355 to 360. So to explain more in depth, what it is that this is the time when the Earth natures were born. Most people know that there were only four children of Newton said. There was actually five. That fifth one, his name is Heru-Ur. Heru-Ur is the one that has the falcon head and the Setian head on one body, which represents dualism, which represents how the Earth spins. He's the reason why the Earth spins. So when you look at it from, in a metaphysical way, you understand that there is Horian light and Setian light. The Horian light is the light that gives you life. But say, for instance, if you're in a desert, the light can take your life. That's what that represents. Then you have Asar. The next nature was Asar, or the next day. I need it. There it is. That's what I should be doing. I apologize. Give me 1 second. On the 10th month. Here we go. So you can follow along. So you have Heru-Ur. Then the next day is Asar. Then the next day is Set. Then the next day is As and Nephet. Those are the five earth netures. Earth netures, or how you say Ta netures, which means earth netures. This is when man and woman was born in a sense, with your paternal father being Asar Unefa Kenti and Menti. Asar Unefa Kenti and Menti did not have that title until his brother Set basically killed him, chopped him into 14 pieces, scattered him across the world, where his wife and his sister Nephet went to go search and find it. From there, you'll find out that then when they assembled the pieces of Asar, As gave birth to Haru. Haru and Het Haru, which people will know as Hathor, which is correlated to the constellation of the Pleiades in a sense, but that's like dealing with the cosmos. You understand that they had four children. These four children were Amesta, Hapi, Tuamutef, and Quebsona. And when it comes to dealing with the calendar, I start to break it down a little bit more. Those four children that you see right here with Haru in the back, those are the four children that they had. So to see more primordial evidence when it comes to dealing with the 24 hours and the 24 hours and 35 minutes, you'll start to see depictions or meta nature where you see Newt and Seb and nobody's holding them up. So that to make you know that, oh, that's when we were born, because time was allotted for us. Because that's the reason why Shu and whoever was in the middle was holding them up in the meta nature. So then, as you find out that the Shimsurus were born, those which I was stated before, the Amesta, Hapi, 27 question of, they are how you say where we come from. because then when you start to understand about the let's go to palmistry, right? And you understand when they tell you about palmistry, you're able to find out what, based on their finger length and their hands and things of that nature, you can find out what element they are. Correct?
Wow. No, I actually did not know about
Oh,
that.
my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so,
that's fast
so,
for me. That's but I'm learning, you know.
so when it comes to, I'm giving everybody like some tips right now, especially those who are astrologers. So a lot of people who have done readings for folks who do not have their birth time. Now you have the capability of doing it. So you have to understand that there's all kinds of ways to unlock to help a person find what they're looking for, especially when it's dealing with their chart. If you're not going based off their looks, go by their hand. I bet you can find their rising sign at that. But that's, that's no more. That's not dealing with the topic though. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that out real quick, just to help those, just to just give them free information to folks, because we're here to you know fix the world in a sense, but more so fix ourselves. Because my mission is to liberate the mind and bring cosmic awareness to people. So now when it gets to the days of the week, most people know that we have
Before
7 days.
you get into the days of the week, I'm so sorry to interrupt
No, you go,
you.
you go.
Before you get into the days of the week, I want to let everybody know that if you want to go ahead and purchase your own Rosarian calendar, I actually put the link inside the comment section. So it's down there. And also, Ramutef Queb does readings for astrological readings, okay? Not the type of readings I do where I pull cards and I basically tell your future off of intuition. He uses his intuition, but he also uses like actual astrological timing. And this isn't what you know as the zodiac signs from Vedic astrology or Western astrology. This is going to actually have the Egyptian names. Like I have them all written down over here. This is going to have all 13 signs of the net of the
Neteru, yes,
Neteru's
Neteru.
Tuatep, okay? Neteru meaning
Divine, or
divine, and then
gods or
Twa meaning
goddesses.
star, and
Yes,
then
Twa
Tep
means
meaning
star.
time.
Correct.
Okay, right. So he does his own readings, and even if you don't know your birth time, let's say you had a situation when you were born, or let's say something happened, you don't know your birth time, he has that capability, is what he's trying to explain, of finding your chart and telling your future or helping guide you on like what it is you need to be focused on in this lifetime. Even if you don't have your birth time, he can still make astrological predictions. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understand what you were trying to say there. And then you can go ahead and carry on into the 9 days of the week.
Hmm.
And we're going to have it, I have it written down so everyone can write it down if you want to learn. Get your own calendar. First day of the week, let's talk about Ra.
All right. So before we go there, so you understand we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday on the on a 7 day week calendar. So the only 2 days that stayed the same was Sunday and Monday. Sunday being the sun, representing the sun, which you see is the day one, which means Ra. We call it Ra, Ra because we understand that's the sun deity in a sense. Then you have the moon, and then you have, which is Monday, when we call the next day, which is day two, Tahuti. So in order for us to, gravitate us, I'm going to stop being in the cosmos, and going to come down to Earth real quick. So when it comes to dealing with the days of the week, you got to understand your placement. So to see primordial evidence, in a sense, you will have to Google Tomb of Sin and Mut. Sin, Sen, and then Mut. But I probably spelled it wrong. But look up the the temple of, or the walls of Sin and Mut. The brother was a back in, in what you would call the in Kemet, in a sense, in certain temples, you're going to see this, what you would call one of the astrological signs that the brother did during the age that he was in as well. You're going to find out that you're going to see 7 netras on the left, and you're going to see 9 netras on the right. You're going to see the let me see if I got a picture, because it'll be easier for me to explain if I just show y'all the picture. I should have it. I hope I have it. I should have it. There it is. I do have it. Oh, don't play with me. Here we go. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can flip my camera. Yes, I can. Give me 1 second, folks. Here we go. All right, so this is the chief mortuary of named Cinnamon. On this depiction, you will see the seven netures as I was depicting, and they're pointing to a constellation that's within the Pleiades. Just to just let people know, you'll see four wheels on one side, and you see the rest. Those are all the seasons. Those are also, in a sense, represent as the zodiacs as well, and the moon cycle, so on and so forth. You'll see the nature Apet, Apet or Tawa Earth. Apet and Tawa Earth, there's a little difference between the two. And the way that you can find out, in a sense, is either through their name or by the certain things that they hold. Behind her, you will see nine netures, starting with the neture Ost. If I can focus, come on, focus with me. There we go. You have Os, Hapi, Tuamutef, no, I'm sorry, As, Amesta, Hapi, Tuamutef, Quepsino, and then you have four miscellaneous. As you can see, most of the meta nature you cannot make out. So what we did is that we went ahead and bred it back to its most primordial um, beginnings as much as we can uh, place it to. So at when you're basically looking at everything, you have to basically gravitate yourself like you're inside the first day. So the first thing that you see is the sun. So that will be your first day, which is Ra Day, as she put it up. This next day you will see the moon, because you'll see the moon right after. So obviously that will be the second day, which is what we call Jehuti. Then when you look at the two that's in the sky and you look down, where are you at? You're on the earth, correct? So that means the next day, the third day, would be Seb. Seb means earth, and if you turn the meta nature backward, BES, you'll find out that spells best, and best means fire. And then we have a ball of fire within the center of the earth, so on and so forth. So now, while you're on the earth, you look to the left and you look to the right, and what do you see? You see Mother Nature. So obviously, Os is the fourth day. And then if you know her name, Os, or the people know her as Isis and so on and so forth, well, we know her as As Mut Patnataru Panebu, which is the great mother of the Patnatarus, and the mother in this all initiation, and the ones who gave birth to Haru, and Haru and Haru gave birth to the Shimsu Haru. So now, as you've seen on the picture, as I showed you on the tomb of Sinamut, then you'll understand that the next 4 days after her will be Amesta, Hapi, Twamatep, and Quepsino. So the fifth day will be Amesta. Amesta means born of the earth. Mes means birth. Ta means earth, born of the earth. So obviously, these four children are also correlated to the four cardinal points, also the four elements, the four pillars of Pet. Pet means sky that hold up the world, and then you understand the whole correlation with the Greeks and Atlas and so on and so forth. From there, the next day you have Hapi. Hapi is what they will call the Nile. And then obviously within the name of Hapi, you understand that is the day of water in a sense. From the next day, you'll get to Twamatef. Twamatef means Twa, which means star. Mu means mother. F is him. So basically, star of his mother. And obviously, anything dealing with a star, we're dealing with like the hydrogen atom, things of that nature. But we're all correlated to fire. Then you have the next day, which is Quebsina. Quebsina means Queb means pure. Sin means brother or two, and then F was he, so purification of his brothers. And obviously, if you're purifying anything, you can either correlate it for purification libations through water, or what it basically stands for, wind or air. And then you have the last day, which is Heru. So now, when you think about Haru, you understand that people correlate it with the hero, and then, if you go to a lot of different esoterics, you'll learn about it, different other things about Haru. But for myself personally, especially when dealing with the Netaru star time, or Tuatep, you're dealing with ether. So as always, as we always correlate, you have your four elements and you have ether, which is yourself. So those are the days of the week. To explain even further, when looking at a calendar and then looking at certain things that our a lot of our culture deals with, you understand that some calendars are this and some calendars are that. Some people have a 13-month calendar, but when you're dealing with that 13th month calendar, you're only dealing with the moon. And then if you want to know more information of that, look up one of my great brothers. His name is Taz. He's also affiliated with Crumb TV as well. And if you want to find more information, we're definitely on Crumb TV, and we're also on the Sisters Network as well. But if you want to know more, look up the Brother Taz show, and he also does moon readings, the 13 moon readings, and you'll understand how that operates and how that works. But when dealing with, you know, the lunar aspect, that's the only thing that you're dealing with. When you're dealing with the solar and sidereal, you're dealing with two other aspects that you have to account for. Because you got to understand, when we go to the Kemetic text, you understand that um, the law of correspondence and vibration, in a sense. Everything vibrates, nothing is ever still. That is correct. Because there's two type of energies in a sense, but it's one and the same, but you got to understand the difference. There is, for instance, there is no heaven and then there is no hell. To prove it, I want everybody who's on the live to close your eyes, and I'm going to tell you the difference between what is called perpetual, continuous, and continuous evolution. So when you close your eyes, all you see is darkness, right? This is what you would call the state of the noon. Even though you can hear my voice, but at the same time, all you can feel is energy, thought, feeling, non-motion. When you open your eyes, you have feeling, thought, energy, and motion. Those are the differences between perpetual, continuous, and continuous evolution.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for that explanation. I just want people to understand exactly who you are even more. I want people to understand where you get your information from, how you come to know what it is that you know. And, I don't think people know that there's actually what I call it, a tomb, that there's actually a space in the United States that that just does all this stuff. Can you explain better than me? Because I'm getting tongue twisted. And that you're actually part of that, and that you actually learned a lot from really great people who have been there for a while.
I know, not a problem. So, just to give you a little background about myself, so I came into knowledge not too long ago. Always been in the knowledge, but at the same time, how you say, I'm one of them brothers who ran away from his destiny because he learned it early. But now I'm stepping into it, so it makes I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing. So what it is that I step with the temple that I'm under is called Tesha Para. We have started an association called the Nagaship Association, as well as its sister networks and satellites. What we came to do is to bring cosmic awareness and universal enlightenment, in a sense. So from there, the best way to contact or to get in touch with just myself when it comes to dealing with certain aspects of the schools and things that we're bringing to the Ramech. Ramech means people. Just like I said, if you sign up to our website, which is the Nagaship Dual, you sign up to the nagaship.org, or if you go into my website, not my website, to my Facebook page or my Instagram. Right now, just on my Facebook, because I just put it on there. But if you click and look on my profile, you'll see the link there, and just sign up. Understand that we have certain things that we're trying to do for the Ramesh, because we're here to build, we're not here to destroy. Because at the process of us building, we will be destroying a lot of things.
Yep. And part of that has to deal with the fake time that you know of, the Gregorian calendar, and all of that stuff, all the fake time, all of that stuff, and even to make it even more, because I know you moving fast and stuff, so some people might, you don't move as fast as Fatah. When he was on here, people were just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But you still, some people don't know because there's different terminologies and stuff. And I also want to point out how important it is for people to understand symbology, symbolisms and understand images and all those things, all those little things that he showed us just now with all those little images, like you saw the little bear thing. It's good to remember those things. It's a good starting point.
Cut you off. It's actually it's a hippopotamus.
It's a hippo. It looks so strange. You know that? Almost looks like a bear. But yeah, when you remember that,
the representation of a dragon, actually.
a reputation of a what?
Of a dragon. That's where they get it
Oh,
from.
I see. That's why his mouth looked like that. Okay. So basically, understanding and remembering all these symbols and all these signs and stuff, you'll see it actually repeat itself different places in this Kemetic type of learning. Just like you saw it on the diagram he just showed, it's actually an entire month, okay, out of the year. So this is a month right here on the Rasaurian calendar where you see that same imagery. You see that? So remembering some of these things is very, very, very helpful. Remembering numerology, numbers, and what all the different numbers mean. When you learn about all the numbers and the real meaning of each number, like kind of like how I do on my channel, when you remember those things, it's going to help you when you dive into occult knowledge. It's very important to know these types of things, different color meanings, different number meanings, animal meanings, representations, elements, these things that I do on my channel, and you'll see a lot of it in occult knowledge. And that's why it's important to understand these things. And that's why I even go into trying to spread that awareness to people so that they can be able to hold on to what it is that Africans are naturally supposed to be attuned with, which is nature and synchronicities and all of those things. Okay. So I also want to point out, you can, like I said already, you got August, Augustus, you got October, Octavius, you got Julius Caesar, July. You can also see how they stole some of these things because Ra being day one, Ra really is a representation of the sun. And some of you guys know on the 27th, I will be going live with somebody else, another special guest, and he's going to be explaining all the different forms of Ra because I feel like with all this knowledge, it's important to understand Ra first. So Ra is a representation of sun. Now we're using the English language, and the English language comes from that crap. And so they got sun day. So when you really think about it, Ra being day one, and then the people who stole that calendar just said, okay, we'll just call it Sunday because that's what they know as a sun. So that's just further evidence right there that they stole something from somebody else. Okay. And then you also even got the next day, which is Tejuti, and you said Tejuti is also a representation of the moon.
Yeah, he's the moon netter. Correct.
It's the moon netter. And what is Monday? Monday, moon day. You get what I'm saying? And we know that to communicate that as moon. So these are just examples. And once you go into learning each day, it really does bring upon some type of enlightenment and understanding that the time that you know of today is not your real time. And I also want to remind everybody, like, at some point, very, very, very soon, I will do a video explaining all the different zodiac signs. And after that, I'm not really going back, guys. Like, when I do my intuitive readings, it's going to be categorized by the real zodiac times and what your real star sign is. Okay. So yeah, I kind of wanted to go in.
Add to that, I don't mean to interrupt, but to add to
Yeah,
that,
fine.
so a lot of people think that that the zodiac signs have changed. They have never changed. That's one thing that when you start to learn about, what they call the new star patterns of the cycles, right? You're gonna find out that they never changed. It's that what they did is the things that changed this. So then that goes back to that's what I wanted to talk about earlier. All right, so when it comes back to this, so this is something that most people are not aware of. So when it comes to these cardinal points, there's 3 different type of cardinal points. The 3 different ones is that you have your tropic, you have your eastern, and then you have the one that's pointing at the center of the earth. The one that's at the center of the earth is the one that's by the Merkul, or the pyramids, the Great Pyramids over there in Giza by the Sphinx. The pyramid itself is centered or made right there in the center of the earth. It has its four squares, but it's actually, basically a pyramid, right?
Mm.
Within that, there's a circumference within there, and it shows off to pointing to each cardinal point within the center of the earth. You're going to start to find out that the calendar that we use is orientated to those cardinal points, which is basically orientate itself to the whole entire galaxy in a sense, because we're dealing with the precession. When it's dealing with what you call it, we'll say tropical or Western astrology, right? They use a whole different system. So, say for instance, this the true system, right? And then you have Western that just basically goes, somewhere different with their north. So this is north, this is their north. So obviously everything is off when you go with the cycles. Then you have the one that's closest to us, which is Eastern, but they still go by Western when it comes to the terminology. And when it comes to that, like understanding when it comes to, let's say, the constellation of Sagittarius, right? So a lot of people don't know this, and I've been, talking about it just to, have people look into it. So you know the story about the West. If you know anything about the Eastern story, when it's talking about the rat, the bull, the ox, so on and so forth, the snake and the monkey, and you understand how the rat became the first house. A lot of people don't know that the rat is Sagittarius, and but they'll correlate it to either Gemini or they'll correlate it to Aries, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because they always correlate Aries as their first house. Aries is not the first house, especially when it's dealing with Eastern, and also with even with the Kemetic, and also with the Netherese Tep. So when you think about it, and this is how we start to implement the 13th sign. So if you learn the story about the Buddha giving the houses to each and every one of these signs, right? So understanding that for them, Scorpio will be the last sign. Then you have Sagittarius as their first house. But a lot of people discredit that 13th sign because that 13th sign for Eastern is represented as the Buddha. Because the Buddha is the one I gave in place. And then when you learn the quadrant that where Sagittarius, the aerial Sagittarius, and where the 13th sign is at, is actually in the middle of the galaxy, or what you would call the galactic center.
Mm-hmm.
Which people don't know is the Akashic Records. I
Mm-hmm.
just want to just drop that off to everyone. Dua Hamet.
Yeah. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Memoirs of a Karmic Dynasty if you're not subscribed to that yet. Thank you so much for explaining that. Um, Basically, because I know some people think it's really fast, so I can try it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but because that's a real mind blower to people, especially if you're studying like Vedic astrology or all those things. You're looking at the first house as always going to be a fire element. You're going to look at the first beginning of a cycle to be fire element, right? Because it always rotates back to the fire element. But if you're saying that the first house is actually Sagittarius, um,
For
now I don't know
Eastern,
if you want
for
to get into
Eastern,
this part.
for Eastern. First house
For
for
Eastern,
Eastern.
not for Kemetic astrology.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, basically what it is the alignment is off. And now when you're talking about those 4 points and you're talking about all those different 4 points, is that also the same thing basically as when you say a fixed sign, cardinal signs, and you
Mutable.
know what I'm
Yep.
talking about?
Yep.
It's the same thing, right? How
Mm-hmm.
in Vedic astrology, you have your fixed signs, you have your mutable signs, and you have your cardinal signs. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the 4 points that he's talking about. So if those 4 points are completely off, you know what I'm saying? That's a really big deal. That's a really big deal. So what
Huge.
you know as a cardinal sign, is it going to be the opposing sign or is it going to be the one next to it?
Mm. And then, well, that's the thing. You won't know. You know what I mean? Because unless you know how to truly orientate yourself to the cosmic forces that allow you love, guidance, and protection through the daily experience of honorable matter, then you'll understand that you have those four constellations. Each one of those constellations. I'm kind of mad when I'm about to talk about this though, because Personally, I already knew about it, but you're going to understand that these particular constellations, you have uh, what we call Ma'at PSR, which is Aquarius. We have Ptah, which is Taurus. We have Sekhmet, which is Leo, and you have Serket or Nephet as Scorpio in the 13th sign. So people don't understand that there's a particular star in each one of those locations, right? That really stand out. So you have like
Mm.
it's like how you say like the claw or the heart of the Leo, the eye of the bull, you have the heart of the Scorpio, so on and so forth. So those four stars equate to something else. You feel me? So to answer the your guess's question, when it comes to dealing with the first house, depends on what you're orientating to. Are you orientated to a star, or are you orientated to a cardinal point? That's how you figure out your housing system. So depending on how you would do it is if you go with the ages or the 26,000 year, procession. From there, you understand that since we are in the cusp of Aquarius, aka my PSR, you understand that every 72 years we progress 1 degree within the sign. So right now you understand that's year 10. So obviously we got 62 more years till we are fully developed within the sign. So a lot of people um, don't count the cusp. I don't know why, but I first I get it, but at the same time those cusps are very important because you don't know when you're actually in that sign and you don't know when you're not. Then on top of that, when it comes to traveling through the cosmos, to go back to the 21st in a sense, or March 21st when it's called the spring equinox. So with the spring equinox, that is a time where folks don't know that that's how you track the ages, as well as that's like how you say life coming back to the planet. There's what you call heliacal horizons. There's two heliacal horizons that we see. There's well, actually, if we put it all together, there's five. But there's two hip horizons. The one that's on March 21st is how you know what age we're in, and what age we're in is well, like I said, it's going with the ages. No matter what astrology you go with, you have to go with the ages to understand what is your first house. So you have to go with the cosmos because everybody knows that rhythm and motion, right? And then we're twirling within that motion. So once we get to a certain point within that constellation, you understand that the wheel goes right there because that's the wheel marking part when it comes to dealing with the sign. So you have basically what is called the X in a sense, right? You have your north, south, east, west, and that's basically how you figure everything out. People don't know that your north is basically pointing south and your south is pointing north, but tomatoes,
Mm.
you want to look into it. So dealing with the heliacal horizon of March 21st. So, in order to find out what age you're in, we already talked about the three motions of the earth, or three motions of time, I should say. So, understanding that when you get to March 21st, an hour before the sun rises, when you look to the 23 and a half degrees from vertical north, looking east, you're going to see a constellation. Whatever constellation you see in the sky on that day lets you know what age we're in.
Mm.
That's the first heliacal horizon. You do that for every cardinal point, and you're going to see a constellation. You do it for summer, you're going to see the constellation of Taurus. If you do it for fall, you're going to see the constellation of Leo. If you do it for the winter, you're going to see the constellation of the 13th sign split the with Scorpio. And then when you get back to spring, you're going to see the constellation of Leo. I'm sorry, Aquarius. Now, the
Okay.
second heliacal horizon is dealing with what's called the Ren Pet. This is what we say in Meta Nature for New Year. Ren means name, Pet means sky. You turn it backwards, what does it say? Tep, and then Ner, which is Tep means time, Ner means energy. That's what we correlate with basically New Year. So on that day, do. So yeah, as the Hamet has pointed out, that's how you say one of the days of how you say when it comes to dealing with the astrology part when the sun moves into Ma'a PSR or aka Aquarius. That's just one
Mm.
of them. That's dealing with the whole the astrology part. So when it comes dealing with the Ren Pet, You'll see on the calendar on the first month, you'll see in the Gregorian, you will see July 25th. Over in the Giza Plateau at 3, I think it was 3:03 or 3:05 in the morning, over in the Giza Plateau, you're going to see the star Suptit, which is the Sirius star, and you're going to see the sun rise right after it. This is what you would call a Helic horizon. A true Helic horizon is when you see the star and the sun rise in unison. You won't see that for 1,461 years. But
Wow.
we have that partial Helic horizon, and that's every year. That's what we correlate with the new year. You have your new year, which is spring, and also the herald of the age that we're in. And then you have the celestial new year, which shows you the rising of Suptit and Ra. And when that happens, it takes 8,766 hours for it to come back and traverse to its original spot among the cosmos, meaning that it meets with the sun. And then when you go back to our story, you understand what the Dogon is talking about, and so on and so forth. And you understand that they track that binary system, and understand that our sun is a trinity of suns. You have Ra doing this dance within the cosmos, going through our galaxy and whatnot, and going through the procession. Then you have the star Septet, which is in the center of the galaxy, doing the same thing. They come together 1,460 years, and they go apart 1,460 years. And they do that for a very, very long time, for eons and eons and evolutions ago. Then you have the third star, which is Alcyon, which is one of the stars that's within the Pleiades. A lot of people don't understand that the cusp that we're in is this, which is called the photon belt of Alcyon, meaning that we're in what is called the cosmic rift. The cosmic rift is basically what we're moving through, and our sun is basically like the center pushing through, you know, taking football language in a sense, and pushing through the line. And we have all the planets and all of them basically as the running backs falling behind the center. So what's going on is that a lot of the frequencies and things that you're feeling is us enveloping and changing, because a lot of our anatomy is basically, how you say, it's being upgraded in a sense, because this is an age that we haven't been in for obviously 20, what is it, 26,000 years basically. So we're in, year 10 in a sense. So this is a time that we're basically coming back to that moment, because a lot of us have been walking around this earth as the walking dead, and now we're basically coming into that life form. And then as Hamed is doing, she's showing y'all the dates of, how you say, the astrology dates for the true astrology dates of how our sun traverses through the ecliptic, through each and every sign of the zodiac. And then as you go farther and farther, you start to understand that most of us on this planet is like being in the Matrix, or you're basically, how you say, Alice in Wonderland type thing. So as you go deep into the rabbit hole, you're going to start to see more truths about our world and what they actually do to us. With you being under a lunar cycle calendar, and those who are listening online, so I'm going to say the question again: out of the 12 months that you follow, what month doesn't have a holiday? And once you start to realize that, the first thing you're going to think of is like, oh snap, what month doesn't have a holiday? And then for those folks who don't even do holidays, it's basically a question for you to understand how controlled our people are, because they're falling on a lunar cycle calendar, which is an agricultural calendar that's under the decree of what's is called decree of equity, which keeps you enslaved and keep you broke and keep you from wanting to do more things with your life, because you're stressing about, oh, I gotta get this, I gotta get Easter eggs, I gotta get presents, I gotta get the last sale because it's Black Friday and things of that nature. I understand Black Friday and Cyber Monday is kind of a good thing, but it all depends on if you're investing in yourself. But if you're not
Right.
investing in yourself, then what are you doing it for? Why are you
Right.
giving your hard-earned work money that you should be cycling within your communities to build up what you want? But a lot of people don't do that.
Right. Yeah. So basically, like, it's all just to control. It's all to
Mm-hmm.
control. It's all to, you know, place holidays there. It started off agricultural, so that way they could grow their crops, that way they can create wealth for themselves, that way they can make it easier for them to even plant the crops as well and nurture those crops and just create wealth for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went into okay, well, we can throw holidays in certain seasons because the Gregorian calendar is a seasonal calendar. So let's throw all of these holidays in the wintertime. Let's even go ahead and make the New Year's dead smack in the winter when really the New Year's is actually, wouldn't it make sense for the New Year's to be when the sun is like at its like beaming hot? And the New Year's is actually in the middle of what you would know as August. So it's really right. So it's really just a control.
And it's like when
Yeah.
you look at it, so you understand the concept what we're talking about. So the individuals who deal with that calendar, right? They keep their New Year's in the nighttime and it's cold, right? Our New Year starts as soon as that sun rises up. And then when you get to the
Exactly.
metaphysics of it, you're going to understand that that's two suns rising at the same time. And you understand how our melanin works, right? So it's like a power boost. And then it's like when people start really going into it, and then I love the brothers for saying this, Brother Crump for saying this, and understanding that him and the brother D Calico, shout out to both those brothers, they were advising people that when you see that star rising with the sun, that's two suns. It's bad enough they can't stand one sun. Now there's two suns out in the sky. So that's double the radiation. That's double the light, heat, and movement at the same time. And that's why we're always so either angry, in a sense. It's the only reason why we're angry because our chakras are not aligned. But imagine your chakras being aligned and you see this pinnacle rising. You're gonna witness something not even within yourself, but within your surroundings. And then when you witness it, it's a color that it makes, and some people miss it. But when you see the helical horizon, it makes this weird flash. It's pretty cool, and it's like a very beautiful thing to see because it's something that people have never seen in their entire life. Well, I won't say in this lifetime. I'll say in this lifetime, and then a couple
Right.
past lifetimes you probably didn't know about it, but in this lifetime, it's something that is worth looking for. So I advise folks to consider or meditate on the Ipetarusha Bitum Twaharu Pama'at and understand that I have two homework assignments for everyone. One, go and look find out when an hour before the sun rises on March 21st and look and see what constellations in the sky. Hopefully the skies are clear for you. But look and see what constellations in the sky. And I'm telling you, you will not see no Pisces. You will only see Aquarius. Then, if you take the chance and you're able to see, and if you're over in Kemetic or Sudan, go by the pyramid or just be there and look at around 3, like I said, 3:38, and it's like 3:03 or 3:05 a.m. So I can't remember, but I'll make sure to let everybody know. But over by the Giza Plateau, you'll see the star septet and the sunrise right in front of the Sphinx. And when you see that, that's just something to behold. But also, when you look into the Ibetaru Shabitan Tuaru Pamahat, I started marking on the calendar where it shows itself over here in the northern southern hemisphere. So if you go to the first month of Tahuti, the first day of Ra, the first day of the first month of the first season of Shemu, you'll see that under that, you'll see every, in a sense, 9 days or 10 days, in a sense, you're going to see that we have a helical horizon over here on the East Coast, and you're also going to see the one on the West Coast. But there's also, in between those days, depending on where you live at, you will be able to see it on one of those days. So
Gotcha.
helping the folks realize something that they have never witnessed, and when you witness, then you're going to know what's really going on because you're going to know time. You're going to witness your immortality. You're going to understand that you are the star, the sun, the moon. You're going to understand that you are the galaxy and all. And then once you start to prepare yourself, and then this is like dealing with in our school, we talk about the rules of engagement. Well, not rules of engagement, but the rules of self-defense. But I'm going to give you the limit. There's 5 golden rules that we go by. Rule number 1: only eat of the seed. If it doesn't have a seed, don't put it in your mouth. The only thing that you put in your mouth that doesn't have a seed is water. Rule number 2: don't eat and drink at the same time because you're going to bloat yourself, and that's how us get big. I didn't know it back then, so that's why I'm kind of heavy set in a sense. But I'm bringing it down.
You're
Rule number
good.
3 is eat as the table earth prepares the food from the ground, from the tree, from the vine. Very simple. Rule number 4: don't overeat. Don't gut yourself. There's plenty of food around the world Let everybody else get their fill as well. Eat till you're satisfied, not till you're filled. Rule number 5, the most important, is to fast occasionally. Certain periods of the time, the body must detox and purify itself so you can embrace those energies, those cosmic forces that allow you love, guidance, protection through the daily experience of part of matter. You will fast during a certain moon phase. You will fast to any type of date that you like with on the Ipet Terusha Bitam Torah Huru Pamaat. But it's also a great time to always fast during the seasons. Because when you start to understand who Amesta, Hapi, Tormented, Klepsino, each one of those natures deals with a body part within you. So
Mm.
each one is a season. And then if their body part is telling you who they govern and you know what season they govern, then you understand how to purify your body throughout the cycle on a yearly cycle of 360 days and your 24 hours and 24 hours and 35 minutes
Okay.
into the cosmos of the great year of 26,000 years.
Yes, thank you. I did want to address Melanated Royalty. Thank you for tuning in. She says, wow, instead of this Wednesday, my true birthday is not until February or March. This is deep. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. It doesn't mean that your true birthday isn't until February or March. It means that that's not your true birthday at all. And your sign might not even be the same sign.
No,
So
well,
if
that's
you
the
think
part, yeah.
yeah. So you might think you're a Capricorn. So you're saying, oh, wait, what? But really you're something else. Can
Correct.
you enlighten a little bit?
Yeah, so when dealing with that, right? So what I do is like when I do readings, my mission is to help you understand what the chart you're looking at. So it's like I'm doing the reading with you, but I'm helping you find out how I'm doing it. Most people haven't caught on a little bit, but eventually everybody's going to start to because I'm helping you understand how to use your intuition by using those keywords that they teach you to use in astrology, in a sense. But once you start to really study and go farther in it, then you're going to be able to break a person down from the crown chakra all the way to the root, from the star to the earth, in a sense. So to explain more, first you got to understand that your rising sign is your body. So everyone has a sign as their body. You're not just one sign. You're the multitude of signs. However, when it comes to your body itself, you're a mix of either 3 to 1 sign, depending on how your rising is, in a sense. So understand that your body is focusing on how you say that sign's particular functions. When you start to read about those certain signs and what they do, you're going to find it very interesting that, say for instance, like myself, I have a Taurus rising. So with me having Taurus rising, a lot of things I do is like a Taurus, but I have a Leo soul, I have a Leo heart, I have a Leo mind. And then when I start to break those down and those planets and what they do and what they affect, then a person is able to connect with myself as I connect with them, so we can find out what is holding you back. What is
And
holding you back in your business?
how would you personally find out like what determines a person's soul sign?
So for me personally, I use the sun as your soul.
Right.
Because when you start to
Right.
go to start thinking about Solomon and understand that SOL is soul and sun and so on and so forth, when you go to the metaphysic realms and things of that nature, that's what you're dealing with. The soul is your sun. But at the same time, when you're looking into the meta narrative, you'll see the word Ba. Ba means soul. When you turn it backwards, you understand it's Ab. Ab means heart. So when you start to look into the mythology and the cosmology of the that our ancestors of that Kemetic practice, you understand that when they talk about your heart being weighed on a scale, it's your soul and your heart being weighed on the scale. Then you understand the difference when it's dealing with the 42 laws or the 42 principles of Ma'at, so on and so forth.
So basically, what you would have to do is you would have to, what he would do, because he would see the exact times that you were born, where was the sun orientated in the sky? Okay.
Mhm.
Where was the sun? And it's like, where was the sun? Which star alignment was the sun in? what you guys would know it as Aries, Capricorn, Aquarius, all this stuff. There's actual different names for those things and different dates for those things. But just for the sake of everyone understanding what we're talking about, let's say your sun was in Virgo. So that's going to represent your soul. That's going to represent your heart. Okay. And then this is what he means when he says that it's not just about the actual one sign. You're not made up of one sign. You're made up of all the signs, and they all characterize and bring upon you. So even the moon is going to be your emotions, because the moon is a water element. It's going to be your ability to have intuition. And where was the moon the moment that you were born? What star orientation was the moon in? And that would be how you go upon nurturing. That would be how you go upon feminine energy. That would be how you go upon using your intuition, whether you have a strong intuition or not so strong intuition. And that would just be going, that would also say, like, how are you when it comes to your feelings? Do you get angry a lot? Do you get sad a lot? And what he does, correct me if I'm wrong, is you don't focus on the Vedic astrology or Western astrology. You focus solely on the Egyptian, the Egyptian star alignment, Tuatet, okay? And you're going to base it off of the characteristics of that actual deity or that actual, netter, right?
It's
If I'm
actually
saying the right.
because what it's dealing with, I'm dealing with frequency, vibration, rhythm.
Okay.
That's more so that I deal with, and understand that most of the time when I do the readings, I bring it to the level of, the the individual's understanding of the sign. So if they wanted to go into that type of what's the right word? Um, if they want to go into using the netters, the way that I use it is I go from the Zetepi, and then next time we come together, I'll make sure to go into the Zetepi, so you can understand where I'm coming from. So I'm not just going from how you say the netter themselves. I'm coming from the source, or
Right.
visualizing the source, as I was explaining earlier, understanding the difference between perpetual continuance and continuous evolution.
Right. And then thank you so much for saying all of that. And before we wrap it up, I just really want to say thank you so much for coming on this channel. As everyone who is subscribed to me, they already know that I'm trying to implement more African things. I'm trying to implement more truthful things. And as I awaken, I want to share not my sacred awakening experiences, but I want to share that enlightenment with other people. And Crump TV has helped me a lot. Ramutef Queb has helped me a lot. Pata Asar has helped me a lot. And I really want to thank you guys for doing that. And I think it will also be important for the viewers to know where to go to really find out what their true birthdays are, because I am going to make a video where I'm going to say these things, because like I said in my intuitive readings, after this monthly reading, I'm only going to categorize you guys by the Egyptian star, star zodiac, not zodiac, but you know what I'm saying? So where could they go right now with all this curiosity build up inside of them to find out what their true timing is? There's some videos and stuff for.
Yeah, like if you go to either the Memoirs of the Comic Dynasty, Crumb TV platform, also with the brother Conscious Said on podcast, you can also go to Denise Grant, and to find her, you'll see the dove. You'll see the dove as her icon on YouTube. Um, Also, you can go to our Nagaship Association telecommunications
.org.
network, or on
Yeah.
.org, but the telecommunications network is also on YouTube and on Facebook as well. If you want to catch any videos that we have done when it comes to that, but most of them is on between Crumb TV and Breath of Knowledge and Memoirs of the Comic Dynasty. If
Okay,
you want
awesome.
any more information, especially when dealing with that particular topic. When it comes to anything else, you can just inbox me, email me, anything that if you want to reach out to me. If I have the time, mostly I'm trying to have the time. I'm not gonna lie. It's because I'm here to, like I said, my mission is to liberate the mind and bring cosmic awareness to the people.
Okay. Thank you so much for everything. I guess everyone has asked all the questions they need to ask. And make sure you subscribe to Crump TV. Make sure you subscribe to Ramutef Queb. Make sure you subscribe to this account right here, the Memoirs of Karmic Dynasty. She is very in tune and very aware and has a lot of information of all of this stuff as well. So make sure you definitely subscribe to her channel. And thank you so much for coming in. Bye, everybody. And I hope you guys have a great time, great night, great morning, wherever you are. And Hotep and peace to you.
And before we end the live, I want to say this in the words of our eternal Father, Usar Nefeketi Ameti. In the whole of the universe, nothing is ever added and nothing is ever lost. Please subscribe to the Hamet's channel, Atum Ra per Hotep.
Atum Ra. Okay. You know what we're going to do, though? I need you to send me the links of all these places and channels, and I'll put it inside of the in the comments. So that way, everyone who comes to this video, all the things that they need to know is inside the comment. We're going to do that for y'all. All right. All right. Bye-bye, everybody, and take care.